Perfect. Well, welcome everybody to today's Tuesday Care Talk. I'm your host, Ashlyn, and I'm just going to be doing a little bit of a recap of Tara Hannah's episode last Thursday, which was about coping skills, self-care, and mindfulness. I just want to let everybody know just up front, I'm trying out some new blue glasses, so I apologize for the glare. I'm trying to get used to it too. So, if anybody remembers, I did kind of make a little camo in her most recent episode talking about the circle of control and living in the present moment. And today, I just really want to talk to you guys a little bit more about coping skills, definitely a little bit more about self-care, and then again, just kind of retouch on that circle of control for you. So let's dive on in. So first off, coping skills are hugely beneficial. And as Tara said, there's so many different techniques, right? You've got grounding, you can count to 10, you can physically remove yourself from the situation. You can journal, talking about it to somebody, sometimes exercising, getting the energy or those emotions, whether it's sadness, whether it's anger, getting those feelings out by going for a jog or exercising or creating art. All of these are wonderful ways to help yourself reduce stress, whether it's for an upcoming test or an exam like midterms coming up, or whether it's just something that you're really nervous about, a family gathering, a first date, a performance, anything like that. So coping skills really help us kind of take back control of our emotions and make us so that we're not as reactive, right? We want to be a little more introspective, and we want to really try to kind of analyze, well, what's making me feel this way? Maybe what's triggered these feelings or these thoughts. Coping skills are awesome because they're so universal, and there's no situation that is too big or too small for a coping skill. For people who are like, man, I just don't know what type of coping skill to use, or I don't know what type of strategy, you can always Google. Google has so many. Like, I just went into Google and I typed in 99 coping skills. And we'll have a website link for both of the websites that I referenced today. But through one of them, which is www.yourlifeyourvoice.org, they have a section dedicated to 99 coping skills. And these are all over the place. Contacting your therapist, go to a friend's house, write a poem or a short story, color, sketch, make a kind of like, I like to sometimes, not a very good coping skill, but sometimes we all like to go to Wish or Amazon, right? And we like to look at things that maybe we're interested in buying. I consider that like window shopping, but online. So that's always a lot of fun. You can shop without buying anything. Gardening, taking a walk, giving yourself a facial, taking a nice bubble bath or a hot shower, cleaning up. Something else that I really like to do as my coping skill when I feel really stressed, when I feel overwhelmed, I clean my apartment. I start with one room so that I don't get crazy. Otherwise, I'll do a little bit here and there, but I try to pick one space and I go, okay, I'm going to clean this space really well. And so many different things like that are hugely beneficial coping skills. Also, if you're like, man, I've Googled them and I've gotten all I can, talk to your therapist. Therapists, counselors, life coaches, I'm even sure the success coaches at WSU, we all are familiar with a bunch of different coping skills and techniques that work for us. So one of the ones that kind of ties in with the circle of control theory that I want to bring up that I use as well. My therapist told me, think of some of your worries, some of your fears, some of your anxieties and your stressors. Think of them and take them and put them in a little time capsule. A jar, a box, whatever it is, take those thoughts and go, okay, I'm really stressed. I've got this, I've got this, I've got this. Put all those in the box, in the jar, and put them away. Put them to the side. That's just allowing yourself to say, hey, I've acknowledged that these are some of my stressors. These are some things that I'm feeling that's going on, but you're not going to let those feelings dominate you, overwhelm you, or control you. You want to make sure that you acknowledge them, you see them, you put them away for later, and you focus on whatever it is that you need to focus on. Studying, taking a test, cleaning, having fun, whatever it is. And when it's time, after you've completed whatever that activity is, then you kind of can take that capsule out or that box out, however you visualize it. And you can say, okay, let me open this box and kind of analyze it a little bit more, right? What was it that made me feel anxious? What was it that triggered me? Was I, how effective was this tool? Something else that I've heard a lot from my students is saying, well, I've tried this and it doesn't work. And yeah, that's why there are like 99 plus coping skills, right? Because not every coping skill works for everybody. And so there is some trial and error that you've got to find the coping skill that works best for you. But don't ever give up on that search, because once you do find your coping skill, whether it's visualization, whether it's grounding technique, whether it's listening to music, cleaning, going outside, taking a nice hot bath or a shower, whatever your coping skill is, once you find it, it's amazing. I mean, and now granted, you're going to need different ones for different situations, right? Some of them you're like, if your coping skill is making yourself a facial and just getting all beautified, that might be hard to do, if you're triggered in the middle of going grocery shopping or if you're on campus. So you do want to make sure that in your little toolkit, you have a couple coping skills for just different situations that just really help to keep things more in control for yourself. And kind of leading from coping skills, the next thing that is super important, and kind of goes hand in hand with coping skills and taking care of your own mental health, is also your self-care activities. Self-care activities can be very similar to coping skills. Self-care activities usually refer to the practice of taking care of one's own health. There's many different types of self-care. We need to make sure that we maintain our social health, mental health, physical, emotional health. And all of these tie into some of the coping skills, right? Coping skills help to really maintain our mental health and sometimes our physical health, depending on if we suffer from chronic pain or conditions, especially with COVID going around, people who are sick or have to stay in bed a lot. They might also need a coping skill just to help take their mind away from what's kind of going on currently for them or around them or to them. So self-care activities, like I said, there's almost just as many self-care as there are coping skills. Some of the benefits of self-care, there are really 5 main ones. And of course, there's many more, but these are just kind of some of the ones that I've gathered for you guys. Having good self-care and self-love for ourselves helps to build healthy relationships with others and ourselves. So relationships are so important, right? We have relationships with our teacher, with our peers, our best friends, our animals, our family, sometimes our objects, right? I'm not gonna lie, I'm a gamer myself, and my PlayStation is part of my, I care for that thing. And so there are many different types of relationships that we have throughout our lives, and those relationships are very dynamic and they change with time. They come and they go, they get stronger, they get weaker, and none of those things are bad. However, what we want to make sure that we do in our self-care is we want to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves so that we can be the best person, not only that we put out into the world, but also that we can be the best person for those around us too, right? Our family and our friends, that make our relationships stronger, that help build confidence in ourselves and in others. Self-care also breeds positivity. So staying positive, staying strong, keeping your head up can be really tiring sometimes, right? I think we all have experienced where we're like, man, I'm really tired of holding it together. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think we always, envision that we need to be positive and happy 24/7, right? And surprise, that's not the case. I myself, while I try very hard to remain positive, I have really rough days too, and tough days and down days. But instead of trying to push those away and say, no, 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 I need to stay positive, I let myself feel those emotions. So I sometimes will say, I'm going to let myself feel really sad for an hour, or I'm going to let myself be in a bad mood for 30 minutes. Give yourself those permissions to feel what you're feeling. Negative emotions, and I don't even like to call them negative emotions, emotions that we think of are negative: anger, sadness, guilt, fear. Those aren't inherently negative, right? They may not be the most positive feelings that we have, but I wouldn't say that they're negative. It's just about how do we cope with them? How do we express ourselves and handle those in a safe and healthy manner for ourselves and those around us? And it's how do we allow ourselves to feel that so that we can say, okay, I feel this, that's okay, but I want to allow that positivity to come back. And that's kind of, again, what that self-care helps with, bringing that positivity back, taking care of yourself, being able to achieve those goals that you set for yourself. So self-care, positivity, healthy relationships for yourself and others. Self-care also improves your productivity and your motivation. So, and again, this kind of ties in, I'm going to be blending here, ties in a bit with the circle of control. A lot of our worries when we think of reasons why we're struggling with motivation or struggling getting a project done or productivity, sometimes it can be because we are so worried about those external forces that we don't have control over. Some of those external things that we can't touch or we can't influence at the time. And so circle control theory, doing a little bit of meditation, allowing your mind and your body to relax, to take a break from the busyness of your day. If you're constantly on a go, 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 constantly, doing this and then finish this and finish to this, you're going to struggle with productivity, right? You're going to get tired. You're going to get fatigued. Take breaks, relax, give yourself a time to breathe. And when you start to practice things like meditation, for example, is a really great one. Meditation, mindfulness, living in that present moment, looking at your circle of control. When you're really able to do those things, you'll be able to connect kind of with your inner self a little bit more. It might sound kind of weird, but connect with your inner self. Do a little bit of some introspection. Being able to have an inner sanctuary or an inner peace, a quietness in you is very, very beneficial for productivity and motivation, because we all kind of need to take a break, take a step back, and just kind of reevaluate and figure out what is it that drives your purpose? What is it that brings you satisfaction and a sense of accomplishment? Paying attention to those things, super, super important. And again, helps with that motivation, productivity, and with your self-esteem as well. Patting yourself on the back for those accomplishments when you see them or when you reach them. Self-care also brings us to number 4, which is higher engagement levels. So kind of what does that mean, right? Well, some self-care activities allow us to connect with the world around us, whether that's doing a blog, or I know a lot of people who do YouTube tutorials, super cool. Excuse me. It can be anything from making new friends or sharing a personal story or connecting with somebody. So many different things that just can increase our engagement levels, get us out of the house, get us out of our own comfort zone. It may not seem like it at the time, getting out of our comfort zone, maybe going into the unknown or making ourselves feel nervous, but that is a self-care that builds you up. For example, I've always taken jobs my entire life where it's been a challenge. I'm not a huge people person, but I've always made myself take jobs or volunteer or do activities and events that put me a little bit in the spotlight, that put me in connection with students, teachers, staff that put me in a place that's a little bit uncomfortable, but then I always go, man, I survived it. Pat myself on the back for that. Or I go, I made a lot of people smile. I connected with a lot of people. I learned something, they learned something, and that's wonderful. So really challenge yourself. Sometimes your self-care is about getting you out of your comfort zone and finding those different levels of engagement, those different feelings, those different emotions, and finding out some different things that make you happy. Again, going on a walk outside. I know it can be very hard if you don't have maybe an animal to walk by your side, but what I like to do, put in those headbuds, walk, and just listen and look outside, right? Look at the trees, look at the things around you, the cars, people watch. Another good thing you can do is look on the ground and look for money. I'm always scouring for money, and that's a nice way to take a nice walk, get some fresh air, breathe, get out of whatever situation you were in, and you might make a little bit of money out of it too. But definitely try those. Definitely get out of your comfort zone. And also part of grounding too, if you're like, oh, I don't have any music, that's okay. Sit outside on your porch or just take a walk and enjoy the sounds of nature, the world around you. Really let yourself be in the present moment when you are increasing in your engagement levels with others or getting out of the house. Really allow yourself to be in that present moment, in that space. The next big thing that self-care activities and coping skills do for you, and this is a huge one, I think especially now with 2020, with COVID, is it helps fight fatigue and illness. Might sound crazy, but there is a little bit of a mind over matter thing that kind of goes on with self-care. As I mentioned, it increases productivity, it benefits your relationships, it increases motivation and engagement. And all of those things have an effect on our body and on our physical health. If you are always stressed, you might not sleep well, so you're tired, and you might be kind of achy, and you might be sore, and you might kind of just feel groggy, or your skin, you're like, man, why am I'm breaking out a lot more than I typically do, or your hands feel a lot drier than they do. Maybe you're not putting lotion on as much as you used to. Sometimes those little things, again, present moment, pay attention to yourself inside and out. Do you see things that you're not used to seeing? Dry skin, acne, tired, fatigued, all those type of things. Self-care, taking care of yourself beyond, but not limited to eating healthy, sleeping, drinking water, not just having a bag of chips or pop. Really taking care of yourself in that way and remaining positive both in body, mind, and spirit is huge in keeping yourself healthy, keeping just your body and everything in line. And it also helps you get over things quicker. I know that if you're sick, it's already hard sometimes to feel positive or feel good when you're feeling sick and you're feeling the sickness kind of weigh on you. But think about, I'm going to get better. This won't last forever, right? I know that I can make it through this. Those things, they do have a physiological effect on your body, on your mind. And so make sure that, you're doing self-care for all of these reasons and not just for one, that there's so many different things that self-care, coping skills, staying in the present moment, so many benefits for. So some of the types, I want to just hit real quick on some of the types of self-care that we have. So again, emotional self-care, whether it's for an individual or, if you're helping friends or family, pay attention to your states, happiness, sadness, anger. We want to be able to control our emotions in a healthy way. No emotion is inherently negative or inherently bad. It's how you express it, and it's how you let those feelings take control of your life, right? We don't want those feelings to take complete control over our lives. We want to be able to feel sad sometimes because it makes us appreciate the happiness. We want ourselves to feel angry because it ignites a fire in us and it gives us maybe a passion or a drive It's just about how do we control them in a positive and a healthy and a beneficial way for ourselves and for those around us, right? Next, self-care, physical care. Taking care of your physical body. As I said, mind, body, and soul are all connected, whether we think so or not, right? And so making sure that we're exercising, making sure we're eating healthy, making sure we're putting lotion on, that we're putting sunscreen on, that we're taking regular showers and making sure that we're clean, that we're healthy. Those are all part of physical self-care things that a person can do to help their health, help those around them, help productivity, help boost their happiness and their morale. Yoga is a nice one. And speaking of yoga, October 25th, I believe, we do have another self-care Sunday that will be yoga and meditation combined. So I definitely encourage you guys to come check that out. Look for that around October 25th. But do engage in some of those physical things as well, not just the emotional ones. Next, we have our social self-care. As much as I may not be a people person, I still need my daily dose of people, right? So I have those friends that I go see or that I talk to, whether in person, via Zoom, text message, or a phone call. If you need that physical or that social interaction, turn to your friends, right? Turn to your friends and family. Maybe you go and you have dinner with a friend, or you invite a friend over, or you hang out with your family for a day or for the weekend. Making sure that you're not isolating, making sure that you're not avoiding. It's true that sometimes you may not be up for a lot of social interaction. I'm guilty of that too. But make sure that you are getting some social interaction during your daily day or your week or just some time. Humans are very social creatures, and when we get together with others, I think it really does increase our mood, our positivity, those positive vibes. You can do a vibe check with your friends, but really, it does increase our happiness, and it makes us feel a lot more connected, not only with ourselves but with others, and it also again just helps you keep in touch with those around you. Social health is so important and goes really hand in hand greatly with that mental, emotional self-care and health as well. Next, we've got our spiritual self-care. This is different for everybody, but just make sure that even if you're not religious or spiritual, making sure that you're valuing yourself, right? And just value yourself. Your body's a temple. Whether however much you want to believe that or not, your body is a temple, and you want to treat it well. Give yourself that peace, that inner peace, that outside peace as well. So pay attention to and look up some spiritual self-care as well. And again, emotional, mental self-care. Kind of the mental self-care is going to go a little bit more with those coping skills. How do we help control some of the stress, the anxiety, those domino effect thoughts, right? Or when it's 10 p.m. on a Saturday night and we're alone in our rooms, our thoughts go wild. Or we start thinking about the past or the future. Really reel yourself in. Really focus on that mental self-care. And how you can do that: music, again, yoga, meditation, or circle of control theory. Circle of control theory is a great way to take some of those mental thoughts, those mental feelings, those stressors, those triggers, and allows you to visualize and say, okay, what out of these stressors can I control? What can I influence? And what are out of my control? So think about those type of things when you're thinking about mental self-care and taking care of your mind and your body. And then the last piece of self-care I want to talk about is practical self-care. So these are self-care ideas that help kind of maybe bring us pleasure or bring us feelings of happiness, but they're also things that kind of we have to do in our daily lives, right? So that might be cleaning, grocery shopping, That could be, just some of the errands and the daily laundry, things that we have to do. Sometimes looking at those in a different light, right? I know I've had a friend who mentioned to me, oh, Ashlyn, laundry is like a forever chore, right? And you're not wrong. I think all of us are probably going to be doing laundry for the rest of our lives, right? But I don't look at it as this constant chore. For me, I look at it as this is something that I do for myself that makes me happy. I get to see all the different clothes that I have. I get to reevaluate some things. I get to feel good and get a sense of accomplishment and say, yeah, I was really productive today. Took care of myself, took care of my house. And that makes you feel good, especially when you have your own space. And again, when you're in control of your own space, your own actions, you'll be really surprised that maybe some of those daily chores or those daily activities that we go through during our everyday lives can actually bring us a lot of pleasure, happiness, joy, and just senses of accomplishment. So really, self-care coping skills can come in many forms, have many different avenues. Try, and try again. Don't give up. Find the one that works best for you. And, remember all the different ways that self-care activities can help you. Staying healthy, fighting off infection, motivation, mental health, emotional health, your social health. Really think of all these different things and different ways that you can take care of yourself and engage in those. And finally, before I let you guys go, again, check out the kind of events, or not the events folder, but the extras folder in your Blackboards with Chakra Strong and Resilience. There is a lot of great information that we've added. The circle of control theory, both these things on what you can control, what you can influence, and what's out of your control. We've got the picture version of this. It just kind of gives you more of a visualization of some of the things that you can control and things that you can't. Also in that extras folder, we will have a YouTube video that just talks a little bit more, kind of just breaking down that circle of control theory. And we will also have some of the links in the websites that I kind of talked about and read off some coping skills and self-care ideas from. Take a look at those, check those out. If you want any ideas or anything, Google is your best friend. Or reach out to myself or Tara Hannah. We would be happy to give you some more ideas, some more thoughts, and more links to websites and information. So until next time, remember, try something that gets you out of your comfort zone. Make sure to take care of your social health, your emotional health, and your physical health. Make sure to look at your circle of control. Look at what things you personally control, what you have an effect on. Look at things that you influence and how your responses, how your actions might influence and affect others. And be aware of some of those things that you can't control, right? We can't control the weather. We can't always control if a nail gets in our tire, but that's okay. That is a-okay. It's about learning and coping and saying, okay, this might suck and it's okay to feel that, but how can I turn this around to still have a good day or a good time or whatever it is? Challenge yourselves. And this will definitely lead us into this coming Thursday's episode, which is about growth. And so we're going to kind of take all of these things and learn about how we can apply it and grow as a person. And again, grow both mentally, spiritually, physically, socially. It's all interconnected. And so thank you so much for joining on my Tuesdays Care Talk. I hope to see you next Tuesday. And don't forget, if you want to continue to be in the drawing for the book scholarship or for the little swag bags, you do need to complete, I believe, 8 out of the 11 little modules and the assignments. There's a place on Blackboard where you can go and you can submit that work to enter yourself in a drawing. All of these past and present videos will also be available for you to view. And thank you so much for coming to today's talk, and I'll see you next time.